Okay, very good. I will wait another 30 seconds or so because it takes time for people to join, and then we can definitely join. Hopefully, there are no hiccups. It's a bit of always a bit of a more of a challenge. If you are on the live right now and you can hear me, do a like or put in a comment. Maybe introduce yourself. See me. That'll be terrific. This way, I know it's working. So if you're here, that'll be terrific to have your feedback. So I know this is working well. Okay. Okay. Let's get started with today's topic. So before I start with the topic of today, which is the 1% rule, which I know many of you are familiar with, I'm going to introduce myself. So you know a little bit more who I am and what my experience and where I'm coming from. And then we're going to talk about the 1% rule. 1% rule, and then we will dive into the questions if you have related to the topic, or some other topics related to real estate investing. So first of all, nice to meet you, nice to see you. My name is Danny Beit-Or. I am a real estate investor, and I've been investing in real estate since 2002. And I've been working with others, investors, helping them to invest in residential rentals throughout the country since 2004. In my career, I have been involved or supported, guided, however you want to call it, probably more than 4,500 transactions, primarily rental properties in places such as, I live in Southern California now. I used to live in Northern California for 10 years. Now I'm down in Southern California. I don't do anything in California. I work with investors who primarily come from the West Coast, but other parts of the country as well. And we help them facilitate, we help them invest in nice rental properties around the country, from Orlando and Tampa, Atlanta we used to do, nowadays Kansas City, Nashville, Tennessee, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Oklahoma City we've done, Phoenix, Arizona a lot, and there's a bunch more, Boise, Salt Lake City, etc. So we've been around for a long time helping others invest in real estate, kind of guiding through people, helping them. A lot of what we kind of a lot of what we do is actually set up, teams on the ground, find markets, find investment opportunities, set up very good, strong processes and systems in place so someone like yourself can come in and ride out the tracks that we are laying down for investment for your benefit. Of course, we will benefit as well, but we want you to benefit. We build a relationship, long-term relationship with our clients. I have clients I've worked with for probably over 15 years, still buying, still involved. So that's what we do day in, day out. I'm saying it mainly to give you kind of a little bit of understanding of my experience, of all those years and capacity of more than 4,500 transactions. And I want to share with you today what I call the misconception of the 1% rule. Give me 1 second, please. And before we dive into the misconception of the 1% rule, or let's just say maybe not the misconception, but the incorrectness, I want to say the following. So first of all, Brian, thank you very much for the question. I'll answer that in a minute. Or maybe I can answer right now. Right now, we are not actively working in Utah. Salt Lake City is where we worked in the past. I actually have local team over there that I can flip the switch and reactivate them with a phone call. But we decided kind of to pause for a little while. Nothing wrong with this market, and I'll be happy to say more about it during the question session towards the end, if you don't mind. I hope that's okay. What I wanted to say about before I dive into the topic is we hold this session, I want to say almost every Friday. Sometimes we skip one every once in a while. Every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And this is actually being recorded and available on multiple channels. Facebook, our podcast being recorded as we speak. Maybe you're listening to the recording of the podcast. It's on Instagram, which is just added a week ago for the first time. We're doing it for the second time on Instagram, YouTube. So we put a lot of content. I put a lot of content. My style, and I hope you get a gist of it, is not a sales pitch. It's more of a education. My ultimate goal is to enrich people with knowledge and to make them feel comfortable about investing and working with us. Once they get a sense of who we are and what we're all about, they would, I hope, and actually it's been proven already, come and work with us, and we can probably help a lot of investors in the process of investing. My experience is that a lot of investors, either beginners, are stuck for one reason or another. That holds them back from moving forward with investing. Experienced ones are also, stuck many times for different reasons. So we can definitely talk about that in another time. But I just want to say that that's what we do day in, day out. We help investors around the country, and actually from other countries too, to buy primarily long-term rental properties, and typically we deal with nice middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class type of properties in different parts of the country. So that means we have lenders, regular lenders, special lenders, property managers, insurance people, realtors, etc. Whatever anybody needs in order to fully transact. Even if you live far away, actually 85% of our investors buy sight unseen and would never see the property in their lifetime. That's just how we experience investing. Now let's talk about the 1% rule. And here's what I want to say about the 1% rule. The 1% rule, first of all, let's explain it, make sure everybody knows. In real estate, when we say the 1%, typically it means that a property that we're buying should rent for 1%, a month of the purchase price. Let's take an example. Let's say I'm buying a $150,000 house, and ideally I want it to be at $1,500 a month, or of course or more, or around that number, and that's called the 1% rule. For many, many, many years, I was able to follow that rule. Sometimes even a bit better, sometimes even a little bit below, very closely. And I follow and I listened to that rule, and I found it to be working for the most part. But a big but. Here's where I went wrong. And recently, I actually spoke to several investors. I think like maybe in the past 2 weeks, the 2 or 3 people that brought it up. And I thought, if this is coming up again, maybe I should do something about it or say something about it. But here's what I want you to understand about the 1% rule. If you heard of it and you're following it, you should pay close attention. If you're not aware of it and you're just learning about the 1% rule for the first time, also pay close attention. If you know not to listen to the 1% rule as a ultimate guideline, then you are dismissed. You don't have to listen to this session. But here's what I want to say. You know what? Here's what happened to me when I kind of clicked in my mind that the 1% is a tricky one. Maybe 6 years ago or so, I decided it's about time for me to expand to another metro. Okay, so that we always work in 4 or 5 metros. Work meaning we have teams on the ground, we buy houses, and at that time I felt that some of my metros are kind of declining in the numbers, and it's about time to explore another one. Okay, for different reasons. And I decided to go to a very nice place or metro called Nashville, Tennessee. I'm not talking about, when I say Nashville or Houston or Dallas, I mean the metro, right? We don't necessarily buy in Nashville. We buy in the metro in the proximity of Nashville. I went to Nashville with my 1% rule, and I looked at the numbers maybe 6 years ago, and I thought, this is not good. Nashville is not getting the 1% that I'm looking for. A $150,000 house in Nashville that I want to be rented monthly for 1,500 ish, give or take, was maybe 1,100, maybe 1,200, right? For me, that immediately was a warning sign. Numbers don't work here. Now, and I drop Nashville and move on to another market. 2 years later, I went back to Nashville and said, let's reevaluate. And then I actually I took 9 properties representing 9 different areas of Nashville and 9 different price points. So a little bit, on the lower end, let's say the 120, 130, 160, 170, and 200. Just on that scale, between 100 to 200, I took 9 properties representing different areas, and I completely put them through our analysis Excel. Right now, when I say our analysis Excel, I have an Excel that all the realtors I work with, in our ecosystem use. All the investors I work with us, they use. This is the language that we use, all of us, to analyze properties. And I sure hope you have your own Excel, to evaluate and to analyze. I have an Excel that I created about 10 years ago, and it's been improved and improved, over the years. I even made a little adjustment to it, a tiny, adjustment to it earlier this week. Nothing, too major. And this Excel, and by the way, we sell this Excel. It's not something that it's free. We sell it. It only costs, I don't know, like $27, and you have the version, the basic version, and it really helps you. It teaches you how to evaluate financially a property. And you know what? It's not an analysis Excel. I look at it as a business plan template for a rental property. You just need to plug in the numbers. You have to know how to plug in the numbers. And I'll make the assumption you know how to use an Excel. And you just put in the numbers and you get the Excel. What I love about it, it analyzes properties over a period of 30 years and looks for the performance over a 30-year time, right? Period. Now, this Excel, going back to my story, I went to Nashville, I picked 9 random properties, and I start plugging one by one into the Excel. And I analyzed all of them one by one, right? With the fair assumptions that I knew about the properties, and I just thought I wanted a better understanding. When I was done, I saw 2 amazing things. Number one, Nashville does not follow the 1% rule. The 1% rule in Nashville was more like adjusted to 0.75%, right? So the 1% I was looking for is 0.75%, okay, in Nashville. Why? I don't know. That's just the way it is. So I'm not even questioning it. I'm just saying multiple properties presented me almost almost accurately around the 0.75% rule, what I would call 1% in other markets. The other thing that I noticed, and this is where it kind of blew my mind, and I was actually, when I found about it, I was really pissed at myself, because I found that with the 0.75%, so 0.75 as an example, a $150,000 home would rent for, let's say, $1,150, okay, give or take, or maybe $1,200. So I found that with the numbers Nashville is giving me, which is not the 1%, I'm actually getting a better cash flow. So the 1% in Dallas, okay, would generate after everything, maybe $150 after everything, vacancy, mortgage, repairs, management, leasing, realistically, insurance, all of those things, right? All the real expenses that we have. The same house for a similar house, or 150, that it's rented for $1,500 in Metro Dallas, for example, will generate about $150 a month. In Nashville, $150,000 rented for $1,150 would generate something around $250 a month, right? So $100 more, right? When it's not a big difference when you think about it, like 150, 250, but when you actually think about how much more cash flow it is and how much it adds up, that's a significant increase. Okay, and now started looking and saying, okay, what's going on here? Obviously, very quickly I realized there are 2 main factors that play that are affecting the bottom line. Now, let me say it this way. when we're talking about the 1% rule, we're talking about the gross, right? What's coming in, the income. What the 1% doesn't factor in is the expenses, right? Now, do I really care about the gross? Where mostly what I care is the cash flow. I do. So the gross, the 1%, all of a sudden makes it less of a significant, right? And when I look at the bottom line, I see that when you compare property taxes, Nashville versus Dallas, and insurance rates, Nashville versus Dallas, that's where obviously the difference comes from. So all of a sudden, the first thing I was like, okay, I gotta. Now that I understand what's going on, now that I understand that the 1% rule doesn't work here, and now that I understand that in Nashville I don't need the 1% rule to work, I need the numbers to work. I started educating, our investors and saying, listen, the 1% that we talked about for years, it's actually not always correct, and we should probably not listen to it. And I told myself, never listen to the 1% rule. Always grab the numbers, do a detailed analysis, multiple properties, and then see what the result is. Who cares about the 1% if the bottom line is better or worse or whatever? Obviously, that's what is critical, and that's what I started doing. So first, I was really mad at myself to be so superficial, and the second thing, from this day on, I never looked at the numbers with the 1% rule. You know what? The 1% rule gives you a feel. I really don't care about it, right? If I see that the rent purchase price ratio is really, really low, then I know it's going to be challenging. Like California, if I'm going to be, it's instead of 1%, it's a 0.3%, right? So I know it's not going to work. So it tells me something. But if I am smart enough or detailed enough, I would measure it, not by the 1%, plug in the numbers. And I can tell you, I've done the same in two areas in the past 2 years. I said, you know what? Let's see what the numbers are telling me. Right? That's the best way. Because a lot of people, for example, ask about Austin, right? And I don't operate in Austin, not because I don't like it. I actually like Austin very much. I've been there multiple times. The numbers just don't work for me compared to Dallas, compared to Nashville. So in Austin, I don't get I'm far away from the 1%. And when I plug in the numbers, I get, on a good day, a break-even property. Why would I want to break even property in Austin if I can go to Dallas, which is even a bigger economy? Like Dallas is almost 3 times bigger than Austin, right, as an economy. And I can get, for the same price, for a similar profile of a house, of a neighborhood, better rent and better cash flow, right? In a safer economy, safer being bigger economy it is. So I measured that. It didn't work, well in Austin. Hence the reason we're not really active there. I have nothing personal against Austin. Same thing with Portland, Oregon, another area that a lot of people ask me about. Portland, Oregon, right? Lovely area, visited, I love it. Has nothing to do with me as an investor. The numbers just don't work. For me, the numbers don't work. Again, it's not a bad market, and you may be able to find that rare opportunity. But for the most part, if I want to come in and buy, I don't know, 150 properties in Portland next year for my investors, I want to make sure the numbers can support it, right? So we don't end up buying or in Austin. And if the numbers don't support it, then I have a problem with it, because as an investor, for me, it's an alternative. Can I go to another metro that will provide better numbers, or better numbers without compromising on the resilience of the investment? The resilience is very important. We are living in a period where we're seeing how a resilient formula is critical. The formula that I've been following for the past 10 years is showing its strength, its resilient as we speak. All the property managers that we work with in the markets in different areas around the country are reporting a small deviation or small increase, in defaults on rent or issues, around rental properties resulting from the COVID-19 situation, right? And again, we are mainly dealing with the middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class type of neighborhoods and type of segment. So right now, we are, what I'm seeing, and I'm talking to the property managers quite frequently. The reports from all the property managers we work with. Yes, we do have some new issues or things that are resulted, but so far, one way or another, we are dealing with it, and the default rate did not increase significantly at all, or more than or a bit more than what we normally have, because there's always default, right? There's always, when you manage 800 properties, you're always going to, every month you're going to have a default regardless the COVID-19. So with that said, this is what I want you to take away from this session. Don't follow the 1% rule. Make sure you fully analyze properly, and the rental aspect, at least the financial aspect of it. Get yourself a tool like our Excel. You can buy our Excel, you can pick up your own thing, it doesn't matter, but have something to really tell you if the property works. If you are buying one property at a time, just measure it, just check. Or if the numbers don't work, just maybe make a lower offer, or make sure your numbers are correct, or work accordingly. But if you're going into a metro and you're saying, oh, it's the 1% rule works or doesn't work, that's still not a good way to go and determine the bottom line. Also, I want to mention that in the past years, we've also seen an erosion in the 1% rule. And what I mean an erosion is because real estate, for the most part, in many metros, US metros, kept creeping up or going up, not even creeping, the rents don't tend to keep up on the same frequency. The rents tend to follow a little bit later. So if we're seeing, so if the rents are creeping up at this level, like this, going up slowly, and the values are going this way, over time, there's a bigger gap. And if we started here, the 1% rule worked. Now, a few years later, the gap is here. So the rent is 0.9, 0.8. All of a sudden, the 1% rule really is not at the same level or abilities as we've seen it years back. Maybe now we are in a period that there's going to be a correction, maybe, and we would see the gap closes between the values and the rent. Typically during downturns, that's what we're seeing, or at least that's what we saw the last 2 to 3 downturns, that while the values reacted in one way, the rents and vacancies, the rents went up and vacancies went down, and actually they closed that gap for that ratio. But even in the past few years, it would have been harder and harder to see the 1% rule works. And if you stick to it, if I would have stuck to the 1% rule, we would probably buy very, very little, a small number of properties. So thank you very much for taking the time and listening. If you have questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer related to the topic directly, maybe indirectly related to real estate. I love those sessions that we hold. I love it on a weekly basis. I'm actually looking forward to it. It's an opportunity for me to a little bit to interact, put our name out, put our message out, try to kind of get some feedback from you. It's if you have additional questions, I'll wait, because I know with Facebook there's a little bit of a delay here. Okay, so I'm going to wait for a few more seconds. I'm going to just give you some more resources here. So if you want to listen to this in a different format, you can always look for Simply Do It. Simply Do It, it's my company's name, is my online identity, I would say alter ego. Simply Do It. If you write anywhere Simply Do It Real Estate, you'll probably be able to find our YouTube channel, our podcast channel, the different things that, our websites, different things that we do. So you're most welcome to just try and use Simply Do It. If you're interested in kind of exploring how we can help you, how you can benefit from our services, our teams, our tracks, by all means, get in touch with me through the web, through email, through however you see best. I mean, we're all over the web, and then we set up we call it a strategy session. It takes about 30 minutes or so, maybe 45. No sales pitch. We're just going to explore if this is going to be a good fit, what our services are, and what you're looking to accomplish. If we decide working together, great. If not, that's okay too. So we do it day in, day out, and we speak to investors on a daily basis. Very good. Since I don't see additional questions coming in, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I hope to hear from you in the near future. I hope to see you next week on our other session, on our next session, which I have not decided what that's going to be. I want to wish all of you a great rest of your day. Have a terrific weekend, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.